again. Ballot victor U.S. President Clinton back to work. Government changes underway. Green light. NATO Chief Solana meets with German officials about new Bosnia force. Big sale. U.S. Air in multi-billion-dollar plane purchase from Airbus. Hello and welcome to Journal. I'm Greg Palcott. President Bill Clinton is back in the White House Wednesday night after his victory Tuesday over Republican challenger Bob Dole. And he's already got a bit of work on his desk. Secretary of State Warren Christopher has resigned. President Clinton says there will be an announcement in a few days. Secretary of Defense William Perry has told Clinton he will be leaving in a few months. Several other cabinet members and top-level White House staffers have indicated they want out. For Clinton, in fact, it was a bittersweet win. His electoral vote margin was sizable, but his popular vote total has fallen to 49.2%, just under the 50% he was going for. The turnout of eligible voters was 49%, the lowest in decades. And both houses of Congress remain in Republican hands. The GOP margin in the Senate appears to have grown. Still, it was a victory nonetheless, and it was front-page news.
After the excitement of a long election night, life in the U.S. Capitol seemed normal Wednesday. The re-election of Bill Clinton dominated the headlines. He's the first Democratic Party president elected to a second term since Franklin D. Roosevelt in the mid-30s.
We can do great things. We can do what this country needs done to move us to the 21st century. If we can apply that spirit to balancing the budget, to education reform, to moving people from welfare to work, to dealing with the other challenges before us, we are going to have a great opportunity here.
It was a victorious return to the White House. A return that signals the resumption of routine political life in the Capitol. For most Americans, the result of the presidential election was no great surprise.
I'd hoped that the Democrats would pick up control of Congress again, especially the House, but it didn't happen. But I'm extremely pleased that Clinton won.
Happily, things are split, so you have controls. You got the Senate and the House with the Republicans, and Clinton's in the White House.
The U.S. electorate appears to believe division of power is a good thing. The Republicans retain their majority in the House of Representatives and the Senate. Clinton is not necessarily going to have an easy ride over the next 4 years. Crucial to the success of Clinton's second term is whether the Republicans are prepared to cooperate with his administration. On Wednesday, the Republican Senate Majority Leader was already making positive noises.
The campaign's over. We need to move beyond that. We have work we need to do. The country faces some serious problems. If we ignore them, we ignore them to our own peril and to the people's dissatisfaction.
In his address to White House staff, Clinton expressed confidence the next 4 years will be good ones.
We've got a lot to do. I talked a little about it last night. But I begin this new tenure with high optimism and with renewed energy and with profound gratitude to the American people and to all of you.
International reaction to Clinton's re-election is positive. German Foreign Minister Klaus Kinkel greeted the second term of the new and old president.
I believe the re-election of Bill Clinton means continuity, and especially as far as security is concerned, that's of supreme importance. The world needs to know, Europe needs to know what direction to go in the future, and the election of President Clinton has contributed to that.
For us, Clinton is not only the better-known quantity, but as far as internal politics goes, the preferred quantity, because it's closer to ours.
Chancellor Helmut Kohl also sent his congratulations to Clinton, with whom he has a warm personal relationship. In a telegram, Kohl said he looks forward to close and friendly cooperation over the next few years.
Bill Clinton was elected in 1992 as a domestic issue president, but more and more his profile in the foreign policy area has grown. A key figure in that shift was Morton Halperin, Undersecretary of Defense, Senior Director of the National Security Council, Special Assistant to the President. We spoke to him a short while ago and asked him first for his reaction to the reported departures of Secretary of State Christopher and Defense Secretary Perry.
Yeah, well, both of those were expected, and I think that the president will choose probably from a relatively small group of people the most frequently mention people for Secretary of State is the former Majority Leader George Mitchell, who's lately been active in Northern Ireland, and Madeleine Albright, who's the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations.
And defense?
For defense, Mr. White, who's the Deputy Secretary, and the Director of the CIA, John Deutsch, are the two leading candidates.
There are a bunch of international crises that have been put on hold during this election. Zaire, Bosnia, trade conflicts. Are we going to see a flurry of foreign policy activity now?
I don't think so. I think you'll see steady movement forward. I think where you will see some quick movement is in Bosnia, where I suspect that there will quickly be agreement on some kind of follow-on force to IFOR to remain in Bosnia for some extended period of time.
In fact,
Zaire is, of course,
in fact, foreign policy issues were not in the forefront of the campaign. Do you think domestic issues will remain a priority in Clinton's second term?
No, I think he will move to more attention to foreign policy. I think they were not issues in the campaign because basically Mr. Dole and Mr. Clinton agree on the basic outlines of American foreign policy.
The Republicans are still in charge on Capitol Hill. Will that restrict Clinton's foreign policy movements or maybe encourage him to get out of town?
Well, I think on the one hand, it will encourage him to spend more time on foreign policy because I think there is not a prospect for a major domestic agenda. But there is a growing desire in Washington, which I think is going to be implemented by the president, to move back towards a bipartisan foreign policy. I would not be surprised to see a prominent Republican offered a senior position in the administration and a reaching out to people on Capitol Hill to create a more bipartisan foreign policy.
Finally, Clinton is already hinting about securing his place in the history books. Do you think that might push him to do something big on the global stage?
I think it will force him to look for an issue, and my guess is the most likely issue is to push forward the effort to reduce reliance on nuclear weapons and start the world on a path to eliminating the weapons of mass destruction.
Thank you, good night, and God bless America. Thank you.
President Bill Clinton savoring the moment of victory. Now on to a second term. Hello and welcome to a special Deutsche Welle report after the vote. I'm Greg Palcott. U.S. President Bill Clinton can look forward to another 4 years in the White House. That's after his solid win Tuesday over Republican challenger Bob Dole. Solid, but maybe not as decisive as he might have liked. His electoral vote margin was firm, but Clinton could be called Mr. 49%. His popular vote tally, 49.2%. That's below the majority he was going for. And the voter turnout also 49%. That's an historic lack of interest. Add to this Republicans holding on to Congress and reports of some rapid-fire cabinet defections. There will be no honeymoon in this Clinton administration.
Little Rock's celebration remains only a memory. The following day saw Bill Clinton between the victory mood and the first demands of his approaching term of office. At midday, Clinton left for Washington, where a Republican-dominated Congress await him.
I think what the American people want us to do now is roll up our sleeves, get together. If we can't reach principal compromise, they'll understand it, but they want to know we're trying. They don't want us playing politics. They want us building their future, and that's what I'm committed to do.
Meanwhile, Clinton's White House staff were waiting for their former and new president on the front lawn of the White House this afternoon. The atmosphere was relaxed. Vice President Al Gore was making jokes about Clinton, or at least about George Clinton.
George Clinton, 1805 to 1812, from New York, first Democratic vice president to be elected. For the work you do.
And the president himself paid tribute to the work of the White House employees.
If I make a mistake, you have to try to figure out how to clean it up. And I appreciate that. And I'm sure I'll give you other opportunities in the year ahead.
In the evening, Bill Clinton and Al Gore are giving a huge thank you party to all who took part in the campaign victory. There, amongst other things, will be discussed subjects such as who would take what position in the new Clinton administration. The Secretary of Defense, William Perry, will only continue in charge of the Pentagon until Bill Clinton has found a replacement for him. And rumor has it in Washington that Warren Christopher, Secretary of State with an internationally recognized reputation, will make his resignation public tomorrow morning.
So what is in store for the new Clinton government? We're joined live now from our Washington bureau with Deutsche Welle correspondent Robert Birdie. Robert, we're hearing reports of a lot of these personnel changes in the Clinton administration. Is this unusual to be coming so fast, and any idea what the new blood could be like?
Well, I don't think it is unusual. Obviously, this is the natural point in time for everybody who wanted to get out to actually get out. That is the case for Warren Christopher. He tried to quit before. Also, Defense Secretary William Perry seems to be tired of his office, and he was reported to be wanting to get out before. So this is a natural point in time to get out for these two gentlemen. Other for Energy Secretary Hazel O'Leary, she's been told to get out. She has some scandals on her hands, and she had it coming to her. Mickey Cantor, the Secretary of Commerce, who succeeded Ron Brown, who was killed in the plane crash, he's getting out of this job just to be able to get a better job.
Robert, there's already talk of hearings into campaign finances. Do you think the ethical questions will bother Clinton?
Well, I think there will be some talk about ethical questions. I don't think that campaign financing will be a topic that will be with us much longer. I think that has been a campaign topic. There is talk about a possible impeachment of the First Lady, Hillary Rodham Clinton, which could be much more devastating to the president, obviously, and many people in this town ask themselves if President Clinton would grant a presidential pardon to his wife, to the First Lady, if she were impeached. One thing seems certain: the Republicans seem to be set on getting back at the Democrats for toppling President Nixon over Watergate and trying to get Ronald Reagan with Iran-Contra.
One last question. President Clinton is now waxing poetically about his place in history. Do you think the character of Clinton in the second term will be different than the one in the first?
I think it's going to have to be. He's a consummate campaigner, but there is nothing left for him to run for. So all that's left for him is try to get a good and favorable place in the history books. And having listened to his speech, his victory speech in Little Rock, Arkansas, I very much have the feeling that this is exactly what he's working on.
Robert Birdie in Washington, thanks very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
President Bill Clinton must feel like a very popular man tonight. Messages of congratulations coming in from places as far-flung as China, Cyprus, Saudi Arabia, Ireland. Hopefully all this good cheer will bring him some good luck. Continuing the list of world dignitaries commenting on Clinton's victory, NATO Secretary General Javier Solana says it should mean continuity in U.S. foreign relations. He says he's always worked well with Mr. Clinton and looks forward to continuing that relationship. In London, British Prime Minister John Major added his congratulations.
I think it's a very clear-cut victory, and I warmly congratulate the President on it. I think we have a whole stack of unfinished business, the American government and the British government, business in NATO, business in the Middle East, business in the Gulf. So I'm very much looking forward to continuing that work with Bill Clinton.
German President Roman Herzog sent a telegram of congratulations to the President. He says he hopes the close cooperation between the two countries would continue. Herzog said Germany and the U.S. must cooperate closely to master the great challenges that lie ahead. He added he had faith in the strong basis of the German-American friendship. Foreign Minister Klaus Kinkel echoed those comments.
I think President Clinton's election signifies continuity. And in questions of security, which is what we've been discussing today, that is of absolute central importance. The world has to know, Europe has to know what to expect, and the election of President Clinton will help.
The result of the American elections was not at all a surprise. And I hope that we will be able now to solve some problems we have postponed after the American elections. That means especially the questions of Iran, Libya, and Cuba. There we have a common position of the European Union.
I can only say we congratulate the new and the old president. I think it's quite obvious that the German Social Democrats, due to domestic reasons, have a closer relationship to a democratic president than to a Republican one. On foreign policy issues, I think we could have lived with both, and especially on the issue on NATO enlargement, which we support. I think it's obvious that as well Democrats as Republicans will vote in favor and there will not be a split on party lines.
Mr. Clinton was able to stop the conservative revolution of the Republicans, of Mr. Gingrich, but he had to pay a very high price. He had to adopt some conservative positions, turn to more right-wing policies, and that made a lot of Democratic voters very disappointed. Maybe there is space now for a new third political craft, not from Mr. Perot, but something progressive or green or ecological.
According to surveys, a key factor in the Clinton win was the feeling among the majority of voters that the U.S. was headed in the right direction. But what do the folks outside of the U.S. feel about the Clinton win? Deutsche Welle conducted a poll among 1,000 Germans and found interest mixed.
When asked whether the outcome of the U.S. presidential election would have any effect on Germany, 48%, almost half of those surveyed, said no.
I don't think anything will change.
I wouldn't like to say any more. It's all happened already. The wall is gone. What's the difference now?
It won't make any difference, because relations with America are already pretty solid. That's what I think, anyway.
The opinion poll shows 34% of those questioned said the U.S. elections would have an effect on Germany. The view was held above all by young people and those with a higher education.
The result of the election will certainly affect us, because America still leads the world when it comes to political opinion.
Yes, the Americans have a lot of influence.
I definitely think it will have consequences for Germany, simply because the USA still determines economic policy.
Almost 20% of those surveyed had no opinion at all, especially not early in the morning as the results came in.
You're asking me that at this time of day? No way.
For more on what will be the international orientation of a second President Bill Clinton term, we're joined now by Professor Werner Link from Cologne. He's an expert on foreign policy at the university there. First of all, Professor Link, foreign policy was sort of missing from this campaign. Do you expect it to be missing from the second term?
No, I don't. Of course, many issues were missing from the campaign, and there was a lack of issues, of course, but I think that foreign policy is so important for the United States as a superpower that also in the new administration, which is the old so far as the president is concerned, we will have a strong emphasis on foreign policy questions, and the president is in the position to take the lead.
There have been some pressing issues sort of waiting in the wings until this campaign has been over. Zaire is one, Bosnia is another. Do you expect to see rapid action on these now?
I think there is a necessity to have quick decisions in Zaire as well as in Bosnia. And so far as I can assess the situation, there is some sort of consensus in NATO that there should be a post-IFOR commitment of the United States and of the European states. And I anticipate very soon an agreement how to proceed when the mandate is expired and new decisions have to be made.
What about a commitment to Europe, to Germany by the Clinton administration in the second term? Do you think it will be there?
Well, I think the United States do realize that in Europe, Germany has a very important position, and Bill Clinton has many times articulated the concept that a strong relationship and some sort of common leadership in European questions would be in the interest of the United States. And I think Germany can do much more than it did in the past, but of course in the European framework, and I think this aspect is very important, that the United States do realize that Germany is defining its position in the European Union and is willing to cooperate strongly with the United States, but not neglecting its European dimension and the responsibilities in the European framework.
Professor Werner Link from University of Cologne, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
German Chancellor Helmut Kohl sent a warm message to Victor Clinton, telling him he was looking forward to continued cooperation with his, quote, close friend. The two politicians have a special relationship and a special appetite to boot.
They're both men who clearly know how to win. Despite the age difference, Kohl is 66, Clinton just 50, they have much in common. Both enjoy good food and tend towards self-effacing humor. They know when to be direct and when to turn on the charm. The chemistry between them is just right. They get on with each other both personally and politically, and it shows. Like here during Clinton's first official visit to Germany in July 1994. Kohl visited Clinton in 1993 and has been back every year since. In his 14 years as chancellor, Kohl has traveled to the U.S. more than 20 times, enough to learn a thing or two about the American presidency and Washington in general.
On his last trip here, he took me to his favorite restaurant in Washington.
Clinton later joked that Kohl knew the White House so well he'd soon be giving tours. When his American friends came to Germany in December of 1995, the German chancellor took the president and the first lady on tours of U.S. military bases in Germany at Ramstein and Baumholder. They spoke to U.S. soldiers about to be sent to Bosnia as part of the I-4 peacekeeping force. When they get together, international politics is nearly always the order of the day. Or campaign help. That was the purpose of Kohl's visit to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a town settled by Germans and America's beer capital. Clinton invited him there in May to give his campaign a boost, and the chancellor obliged, happy as ever to help a friend.
And have a few more meals. That's it for this Deutsche Welle special after the elections. I'm Greg Palcott. Thanks for joining us.
Deutsche Welle TV's News Journal.
Home again. Re-elected U.S. President back to work with major government changes underway. Green light. NATO chief Solana meets with German officials about new Bosnia force. And big sale. U.S. airline makes multi-billion-dollar purchase of European Airbus. Hello and welcome to the Journal, coming to you from Berlin. I'm Don Jordan. U.S. President Bill Clinton has returned to Washington to tackle developments which have left him no time to enjoy his convincing re-election victory. As Clinton flew back to the Capitol for the White House celebration, it became known that several top cabinet aides are quitting his administration. They include Secretary of State Warren Christopher, Defense Secretary William Perry, Commerce Secretary Mickey Cantor, and Energy Secretary Hazel O'Leary. Voters gave Clinton, who wanted an absolute majority, only a partial triumph, re-electing him with a margin of 49% to 41% for Republican rival Bob Dole. A look at the morning after in Washington.
After the excitement of a long election night, life in the U.S. Capitol seemed normal Wednesday. The re-election of Bill Clinton dominated the headlines. He's the first Democratic Party president elected to a second term since Franklin D. Roosevelt in the mid-30s.
We can do great things. We can do what this country needs done to move us to the 21st century. If we can apply that spirit to balancing the budget, to education reform, to moving people from welfare to work, to dealing with the other challenges before us, we are going to have a great opportunity here.
It was a victorious return to the White House. A return that signals the resumption of routine political life in the Capitol. For most Americans, the result of the presidential election was no great surprise.
I'd hoped that the Democrats would pick up control of Congress again, especially the House, but it didn't happen. But I'm extremely pleased that Clinton won.
happily, things are split, so you have controls. You've got the Senate and the House with the Republicans and Clinton's in the White House.
The U.S. electorate appears to believe division of power is a good thing. The Republicans retain their majority in the House of Representatives and the Senate. Clinton is not necessarily going to have an easy ride over the next 4 years. Crucial to the success of Clinton's second term is whether the Republicans are prepared to cooperate with his administration. On Wednesday, the Republican Senate Majority Leader was already making positive noises.
The campaign's over. We need to move beyond that. We have work we need to do. The country faces some serious problems. If we ignore them, we ignore them to our own peril and to the people's dissatisfaction.
In his address to White House staff, Clinton expressed confidence the next 4 years will be good ones.
We've got a lot to do. I talked a little about it last night. But I begin this new tenure with high optimism and with renewed energy and with profound gratitude to the American people and to all of you.
International reaction to Clinton's re-election is positive. German Foreign Minister Klaus Kinkel greeted the second term of the new and old president.
I believe the re-election of Bill Clinton means continuity, and especially as far as security is concerned, that's of supreme importance. The world needs to know, Europe needs to know what direction to go in the future, and the election of President Clinton has contributed to that.
For us, Clinton is not only the better-known quantity, but as far as internal politics goes, the preferred quantity, because it's closer to ours.
Chancellor Helmut Kohl also sent his congratulations to Clinton, with whom he has a warm personal relationship. In a telegram, Kohl said he looks forward to close and friendly cooperation over the next few years.